beautiful brothers and sisters. I'm Geeia Ariati. I am realizing that my phone's flashing up because of the volume button being squished. That is live for you. I am jumping on today as a little bit of a sneak peek into multidimensional education and to speak into a topic around templates. I don't believe I put that in the title, so there may have been a bit of a mismatch in the title and in this live. However, I'm going to wait for a couple of people to join, and as you're joining, breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Now, if you're anything like me, your frequency is extremely high, and the amount of energy and creation that is taking place within our collective, within our molecular structure, our earth, and the recreation in the new direction forward is quite profound. So the physical representation of your being and your body may feel a little heightened. You might feel a sense of anxiety, and you may be experiencing challenges communicating in clarity and making tangible sense of the words that you're speaking. And so I will do my very best to ensure that I slow down and that I stay centered, grounded, and in vibrational resonance to speak to you about something that is not being spoken about in healing, that is not being shared in the awareness of spirituality, and a bit of trickery and a trap that may be keeping you looping the same patterns of behavior despite having seen them, recognized them, healed them, and you still find yourself back in the same cycle. So if we look at healing, healing is meeting a distortion that sits within your sum of experience or your consciousness that has created a belief, a narrative, and attachment. It is a fragmentation or a shadow aspect of the self that desires to be witnessed through the eyes of God, to be reclaimed, integrated, and come into wholeness. Healing is merely seeing a shadow part of yourself that desires to be loved and to be met in totality. So healing is not a word that I like to use, as I feel that it has many distortions in our collective that we are continually healing. Now, healing is a 3D term. It is a human term. Healing is only from the human lens. Healing does not exist beyond the earth realms, beyond the three-dimensional realms of existence. There is no such thing. So healing and the idea that we are always healing is a loop that creates a trauma cycle and a narrative and a pattern that stays within your consciousness. And so if you have that belief system, you can bet yourself that you will be in a healing loop, a trauma loop, or an addiction cycle to healing, and you will recreate trauma to recreate healing. Taking a couple of breaths when you're breathing in. Because I'm super sensitive at the moment and my channel is extremely open, I'll be able to feel every single one of you as you drop into this space. So just taking a breath, you're grounding in. Because the energy and the Schumann resonance and all of the things are a little intense. So, in relation to healing, if we look at healing just from the human and 3D lens, you have a human psyche that requires healing. There is no other aspect of your being that requires healing. So the human identity or the ego construct, the personality, is what requires healing. Healing is something that is transcendent, just like the identity or the push-pull, resistance, attachment, part of the consciousness can be transcended. And so as you are transcending the identities and sub-identities that you have created in your human experience on Earth for however long you've actually hung out here. It will not just be your personality that is here today now listening to me is not just made up of this experience. It's made up of the sum of experiences that you've had on the earth that created your human consciousness, as well as the programming. So what we're talking about is programming. Multidimensional education and staying on track can be a little challenging because you are talking about a multidimensional experience at a 3D lens. So I will stay as focused as I can on the task at hand, which is around the healing of the programs that you have playing out. So your personality, your ego, your identity, is your sum of experiences. Your sum of experiences started from the very point you land, not on this in this universe, but in this galaxy. So pending when you landed in this galaxy and when you were created, you will hold a sum of soul fragmentation that creates your human personality and experience that is here in the now. These are moments where you have experienced fragmentation or trauma, distortion, where basically the whole aspect of your being, that beautiful spirit spark that you are, meets something that is traumatizing, shocking, and it dissipates in a way that you let go of aspects of yourself. Because in that moment you decide that you will either never do that again, or you have to do that to ensure that this experience never happens again. And so we create a personality or an ego construct that is based on these experiences that repeat over and over and over and over and over again. And so although we talk about the human experience and having human trauma, your human trauma is just the surface layer. If you go down into the core beliefs, and it's important to understand this, when you go down into the core belief at its core will be some kind of separation from Source Creator. So you could have an abandonment wound in relation to your father. My father left when I was 3. He promised that he would come and visit me every birthday and Christmas and every weekend, and he didn't. He chose his other family, his wife, and he did not follow through on his promise. So I did not trust men. I also had abandonment and distortions around how to get love in men and the typical female daddy wounding. Now, that is my human early childhood story. However, that energy signature, if I look at the depth of the beliefs, yes, I needed to meet my inner child. Yes, I needed to hold her and love her. Yes, I needed to tell her that she was, it was not her fault, and to let her release the somatic emotion that got stored in my overt masculine dominance. There was all of those human lenses that was required, but the core beliefs that were created actually matched every other incarnation cycle until I got to the core root around masculine consciousness, Father God, and the energy that created that in my experience to play out in this incarnation. So we look at our current reality, and doing your inner child, doing your human experience is great, but the most important thing to do is look at the beliefs, the narratives, the attachments that were created, the thought. Because the thought, you can heal from your human lens. You don't have to go back into past lives if you get to the core belief. If you use your human triggers to get to the core belief, you don't have to move through the multidimensional realms. But if you don't get to that core belief, which will be some level of extreme separation from Source, some level of thinking you may die, some level of non-existence, some level of the polar would be of unity, So the depths of separation, when we look at the Hawkins scale of consciousness, the deepest thing under shame is, it's basically death. It's depression. It's the black dog. So you want to get to the black dog core woundings of your experience. Now, that's this reality. That's what most of us talk about. That's not the secret. The secret, that's just how we are doing our human healing, how we're healing, how we can most effectively move through the distortions that are keeping our chakra systems closed, that are keeping our DNA offline, that are keeping our sensory abilities closed down, that are putting brick walls in front of our face because we don't know our purpose, because we are recreating the same unhealthy, toxic relationships because we are not seeing the toxicity that's being created within us, because we create this external experience so that we see this very belief system. Now that isn't new. Pretty common for most of you, would have heard some level of this. The hidden information and the aspect that doesn't make sense to the human psyche as to why you may be continuing to repeat this is that you are actually programmed to create every single human distortion created since the beginning of time. Now, time does not exist beyond the third dimension. So you are programmed, your physical vessel is programmed with every single distortion and core wound possible within the human psyche. That's uncomfortable because your human vessel, you've done it from a conscious lens, you might have felt some somatic releasing, but your genetic composition of your vessel that holds cells, atoms, and molecules has genetically been coded with templates that hold specific core wounds and narratives. You have a template, which is an inversion in the psyche, to keep recreating these things so you don't find wholeness, so you don't remember who you are, and so you keep repeating the tethering of separation from source. And so these templates are genetically in your vessel. Now, the only way to do and reverse genetic engineering on a human vessel is through light technology. Through identifying the energetic signature of the template and reverse engineering it and recoding it and bringing in a new light signature or formula so that you are in the correct 5D genetic expression of the vessel so that you can go into your crystalline energy. Now, you're all going to be at different levels. You're all going to be experiencing the world through a different lens. But you can see this in whatever lens that you're coming from. Because if you keep repeating the, I'm attracting an unavailable man, and this man's unavailable, and yet I'm falling in love with him, and I'm staying because I want him to choose me, and I keep causing myself this same cycle of meeting someone that doesn't want to commit, meeting a married man, meeting someone who has polyamorous belief systems, you are not going to find your union. It is not going to happen. Now you can look at it from the trinity of mind, body, and spirit, and you can start looking at it as holistically as you can to look for these core beliefs that's creating that. One, what is your commitment issues? That would be the first question I'd be asking. If you're connecting with someone who wants to keep abandoning you and they are non-committal, then you have that in your shadow psyche. Why? What is it keeping you from? What trauma was created as to why you believe it's such a great idea to keep repeating that? So that would be the first question. Say you've done it. Say you've looked at it. Say you believe that you have truly got to the core reason, the core narrative, and you've released that from your psyche. Your consciousness is gone from your trinity. But for some reason, that pattern comes up again. The reason it will be there is because it's connected to some form of a template that holds a signature. There will be a template that holds the exact narrative of abandonment wound. There are templates for abandonment wounds. There are templates for the persecution wound. There are templates for the prosecutor. There are templates for the victim. There are templates for every single possible human fragmentation that happens in your reality. And so whilst it's in your body, in your vessel, it doesn't matter what your consciousness is doing, you're going to keep picking up that signature from your neural pathways until it clears. Now, some people are not actively doing this from a place of awareness. They're actually doing it from a place of purging it through their physicality. That's where plant medicine comes in. That's where breath work comes in. That's where you might get sick and ill. I have not been sick for 5 years. I got COVID once, and that was after I did 4 days of Kundalini and took MDMA. Now, that's a lot of energy. I had to go through a very physical purge to catch up to that frequency. But the physical response, if you are physically purging, it's because you are not meeting the energetic, dormant expression of the signature. There is something within your genetic formulation of your vessel that is starting to die, and it has to die through force. So templates is the exact programming. You are programmed to be a human being, a 3D human being in a body that holds every single fragmentation that was ever created in the universe. Now, how can I empower you with that information and that knowledge? Is that as you are starting to choose your 5D consciousness, your 5D vessel, and your crystalline energy signature, you have to transition from the 3D to the 5D vessel. The 5D vessel has to evolve beyond these templates. The 5D vessel has to change the genetic coding, the DNA signature, the patterns of the brain's neuropathways. Now I'm going to speak into the biggest fragmentation the biggest fragmentation being that the original 5D humanoid vessel that was created by the Anunnaki had a whole brain. It was not divided into 2 hemispheres. The genetic modifications and the seeding that took place created a 3-dimensional human being that has 2 hemispheres to the brain that keeps them in either one lens or the other, yin or yang. Not masculine, feminine, yin, yang. Now, the 5-dimensional vessel, to step into that, you must unify your brain's neuropathways. You must unify your vessel's release of the attachment to left and right, up and down, feminine, masculine, in, out. You have to transcend universal law to meet unity consciousness. Unity consciousness sits above the universal laws. The universal laws are in the 10th dimension. You have the 11th and the 12th. I'm not even going to go into the beyonds. No one's ready for that. It's all right, we're heading there. To have a 5th dimensional vessel, you have to have a unified brain. So as you're moving through these healing processes or these shadow works, the focus is to shift from I am healing my brain, I am healing my body, I am healing my child, to how do I see that I am coming into wholeness? So when you're doing a process and when you're in an experience, what is required for me to unify with God? Because when you are working on an inner child wounding or a descended consciousness aspect, to complete it and come into wholeness, you have to ascend. So what would be the opposite of an inner child wound or a whole aspect? What would an integrated child wound be? There's many different archetypal energies that you could call in. There's many different aspects, but some of the ones that you may see of being the polarity of the wounded child may be the pure innocent expression of a child or creation, the holy child, the divine child. It may be the archetypal energy that you call in of unconditional love. It may be that the warrior or the dancer comes out. It may be whatever your child aspect released and let go of in that fragmentation. When you get to that core wounding, to come into wholeness, you descend, ascend, and complete. So if you haven't heard of it, the DAC process is this process. It talks step by step in how to do this and explains that if you have a framework, you're not poking around in the dark trying to get a whole brain and a whole body. Basically, the Trinity is a framework. If you go, okay, there's a belief that's in my consciousness that is stored in my vessel, and there's also an element that is in my soul or spirit programming, then I can try and meet it in a totality so I can come into the center of the Holy Grail and complete whatever that is that's been keeping me in a pattern or a cycle of an energy signature. We as a collective cannot go into 5-dimensional experiencing or receiving until we release the programming. The programming is the templates that are stored not only in your vessel at a cellular level, but they are stored within the collective light body. Okay, so as within, so without. We are all but one. So if you're working on yourself at this level, if any of what I'm saying is opening a new avenue to how you can be doing this in a more complete way, then you will be able to see that what you're unifying within yourself is directly connected to the collective light body. When the collective light body transforms, because you're releasing the templates of fragmentation that keep you in separation, as well as doing your inner work and calling in ascended higher frequencies to ground into your experience, you are effectively transforming the light body of the collective. That's super empowering. Now, I could talk into the multidimensional levels of healing or transformation or remembrance or authentic self-realization all day, every day, because there are multidimensional layers. However, the conversation that I wanted to speak into was the templates. So if you start to see yourself literally as a computer program, that your vessel is a motherboard of a computer, then you can see that you have been conditioned and are programmed to default out of source connection. Have a little more compassion for yourself, a little more kindness. When your nervous system goes into a place where it's freaking out because the energy frequencies of the earth are so high and you don't know how to ground into your body, it's because you have default programs that have been done in a specific way that when they are triggered, you are sent a tone through your vessel so that you go into a state of anxiety. You are so controlled. Yet, within the control is freedom. So allow yourself to recognize what your vessel is telling you in relation to your consciousness. Where are you feeling the density? Ask the density to be filled with source light. You don't need to have the level of awareness that I have. You don't need to have the level of training that I have been initiated into. You don't need to know all of the fancy words. All you need to know is that my vessel has been programmed so it does not receive source. So if I'm in a state of depression, anxiety, hurt, pain, suffering, and I'm in a point of resisting that experience, it's because there is some belief, narrative, or wiring within my vessel that has created a way that it will make it challenging to move through it with ease and grace. How can I ask Source to allow for more Source energy in and do the work for me? How can I surrender to Source, reprogramming my body, my Trinity, and coming into more of who I am? If this resonates, please share. Please share this information. There will be a multidimensional education series that will be done through Zoom, and it will be talking into each main topic for the individual beings that are healers, that are working with quantum energy frequencies, that are coding. It is time that a responsibility of knowing what you are bringing through, what spaces you are holding, so that you are not initiated through the realms of contrast, and that you are keeping your initiates and your clients in a place of safety, not only for yourself to evolve and expand and to become more of who you are, but so that you can assist humanity more. And so this education series will be being launched in the next couple of weeks. So if you're interested in receiving that, please comment below that you would like information on that series and how to sign up. If you're feeling the call, if you align with being a priestess, oracle, or a conduit, or if you don't even know what that means, but there's something activated within your cellular memory and you feel a bit of a spark to go on a deep dive journey of initiation through the 333-day purity of Isis, that is the initiation into the School of Magic. So that is for women that are really at their sacral chakra. They're starting to do their womb work. They're starting to recognize that they're a priestess. They're starting to maybe look at their sexual distortions. They're starting to open to their infinite power center, starting to become more intuitive, starting to want to remember their soul's purpose. There is an element of feeling disempowered. There's an element of shame. There's a self-abandonment program that will be coming up, and you may still have quite strong sister wounds. That would be the baseline for this program. So if you're feeling that, you're feeling the desire for more union, for more intimacy, for more connection, you want to discover your own unique soul's path mission. If you are wanting to remember your goddess self, you are wanting to activate your past life memory, if you are interested in anything that I have to say and going on that journey, that would be the initiation into this work. There are more advanced journeys. So there is a 6th and 7th initiate 333-day program that will be launching next year, because the honest truth is that there are not enough beings that have evolved to that point that I can teach that work. That is from the 6th chakra into the 7th chakra, which is transcendence of the human ego, the transcendence of the story, the release of the karmic footprint, so that you can be pure presence, pure creation, and live in alignment with God's source creator without your story. Now that is an extremely challenging, if you know or have heard of anyone that has gone through a process of what would be considered enlightenment or reaching samadhi, knowing that there are multiple layers. That is a time of believing you have lost your mind, that you are crazy, and you meet the templates that are programmed in the mind that you are insane, that you have lost a sense of reality, and those templates and those different programs to work through are a much more multidimensional layer where you journey into the realms of Satan consciousness, you journey into the infinite loop of human suffering, you journey into the descended aspects of the human psyche that are extremely challenging to look at. So wherever you are on your journey, hopefully when you come to this point within your own evolution, you remember this, that it is extremely hard for the human being to move from the 6th to the 7th initiate phase and into the 8th octave. So the 8th octave is where you can hold Christos, Christ energy, and start the path of ascended mastery. I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. If you're feeling any desire for anything that I've spoken into, please contact me directly. Heshte Geriati, Buorkiandea Takarianai, Nohosu Tutukoyana, Te Shete Tea Kiaria Tutukoyandiana, Muhoyanai, He Kiari, Te, Pahandaya Kariatori, Ki Shatayando Koyandiani. I love you.